The world of handmade business can be tough when trying to monetize what you love. We've got truth bombs and motivation to help you find your way through. Passion to profit, let's start today, 'cause the world needs what you create. Tune in right now, it's your shot to learn how to be a handmade boss.
So, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the How to Be a Handmade Boss podcast. Today, I'm joined by Laura. Hi, Laura.
Hello.
And we're going to be chatting about what Laura does, talking about her journey. And yeah, so I guess the first thing I want to ask is what I always ask, and it's tell me and us a little bit more about you and what you do, like plug away.
So I'm a fantasy artist. I'm really inspired by nature, and kind of when I go out into nature, I see little creatures kind of lurking in all the plants and things like that. So I come home and I draw them, and then I turn them into different projects. I think I find it really difficult to describe what I do, because if I say fairies, people think kind of pink and sparkly, but they're not. They're kind of, I say ugly fairies, but they're not ugly. They're just a bit weird, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd see like the things that you wouldn't necessarily see in nature that are not beautiful, but they just have something about them that I find really interesting. And I see these little creatures and go home and draw them.
I love it. I love it. So like in terms of like when people say like, if someone was to say to you, what's the closest thing to explain the kind, like your favorite creatures to draw? Are they like trolls? Are they like gremlins? Are they fairies? Like what?
So I really like mushrooms and toadstools. So I have quite a few kind of inspired by that. And then kind of roots and bulbs. A lot of my creatures come from them, with kind of weird little sprouty things on their heads. And yeah, just the kind of the things that if you look at, they could have faces, but they don't. And then I give them the faces and make little stories about them.
Oh, I love it. So you're definitely one of those people then who like can see the face in the toast and like on the wall. Yeah. Me too.
Everything's alive.
Yeah, and like clouds, you're like, oh, it's a dog.
Yeah.
Love it. So what made you fall in love? Because it sounds like you've always kind of done this in some in some way, shape or form. So what made you kind of go, okay, like I want to turn this into like a business. I want to monetize, I suppose, the creativity that I already have.
Yeah. So I did a degree in technical arts and special effects, and I thought, oh, this will be like amazing. I'll get to go and make monsters and make movies and all of that cool stuff. But I felt like it kind of crushed my creativity a little bit, and it was very much about the technical, like how to use different materials and things. And I was kind of like, oh, that's not really for me. And then I did a master's in children's book illustration, because I thought, oh, maybe that'll be fun. But again, that was very like quite prescriptive, and like if you're doing a whole book, obviously the characters have got to be the same throughout it. Publishers like to change quite a lot, and you often lose your vision of what you want to do, even if it's a book you've done yourself and you've written it and illustrated it. So I kind of thought, actually I want it to be my work, not what somebody else has done, and kind of changed a lot. And I think because of the nature of what I do, it's quite niche. And so I can really see publishers going, well, we kind of like fairies and weird creatures, but you need to kind of rein it back a bit. So I didn't really like that. So I started doing bits on my own, making prints, and then found that you can get stuff printed onto almost anything. So I've kind of started branching out into kind of key rings and little badges and things like that. And yeah, I have plans for more things in the future.
You're like, I have plans.
Big plans.
I love it. I think Yeah, I mean, your story is not the first where someone has kind of, I guess, walked into adulthood and kind of gone, I've got this and I just have so many ideas, thinking, oh, there's going to be so many like jobs and things that I can do to fit around that. And then you get to it and you're like, actually, everything's very commercialized.
Yeah, I don't want to be an adult.
No, same. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think for a lot of people, it's like having to forge their own way because you don't want to abide by someone else's rules, I guess.
Yeah. And I don't want to say like the publishers are wrong. They just don't have always the same vision that I would have. And I don't want to lose that because it's me on the paper, and I don't want to lose that kind of meanness.
Yeah. So would you say then that you have like characters that it's almost like they take on a personality and likes and dislikes, and you just kind of think about them in different circumstances, or is it like a new character every time?
A bit of both. So I have so many little creatures in my head. Some of them will be kind of like little family groups, some will be kind of little loners, but so in all my packaging of all my products, I have a little kind of backstory about what the creature is, where they came from, that kind of thing. So there's obviously like families, like I have a lot of kind of little mandrakey type root creatures. They're obviously all related in some way. And then the mushroom ones are probably distant cousins. So yeah, they're kind of families, but kind of there's some that are just completely random. I had a weird dream about creatures that were kind of made of trees, but they live in space. So that was a bit random. So they're kind of their own thing, but they all have their own stories.
I love it. That is so cool. And I think sometimes we can be a bit afraid to be like, oh, I'm thinking about doing X, Y, Z. But I think once you found your people, they're like, yes, you're like,
that's exactly it. And I think that's something I've learned is that, yes, it is a bit weird and not everyone's going to like it. But when I have found my people, they've just been like, oh my God, this is just the best thing ever. And it's just sticking with those people rather than trying to kind of please everybody, because that's just never going to happen.
Yeah, no, got it. Okay, so talking a little bit more about your journey, like when did you come across me, Handmade Bosses, whichever one you want to call it? Where did that kind of fit into it all? So
I just had to go through back all my emails to try and find when I first discovered you, and it was actually November 2022. Wow. So I would have been on maternity leave, and it was the Flourish event that I had the first email about. So I was like, that's where it started. And I think obviously being on maternity leave, I kind of had time, but I kind of really didn't, and I was really sleep deprived. So I think I kind of sort of did it a bit, and then just kind of followed you for a while. And I think when you opened HBSA shortly after that, I can't remember exactly when it was, I was like, yes, I'm going to sign up. It's going to be now. It's going to be amazing. And then I was like, hang on a minute. I'm on maternity leave. I've got no money. I've got a tiny baby to look after. Maybe now is not quite the right time. So I kind of just kept following. I did a few challenges, then went back to work and was like, oh God, this is a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, so kind of just followed along with kind of the free things you were doing. And I was like, actually, this seems like a really good idea to do it properly. So I joined up in October last year, and yeah, I've been loving it.
Oh, good. I'm glad. So you joined October last year, which is great. And yeah, I mean, I say like if any of you out there kind of like, oh, I know about the challenges and the HBSA and all that kind of stuff, and you're still like, I like it, I want to do it, but I'm not sure, I would say like just consume all the freebies.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I did for 2 years.
That's it. It's like we put a lot of effort into like all of the freebies. We put a lot of effort into everything, to be fair, but like the freebies are really, really good. And I think like if you can get as much as you can from the freebies, you're laughing.
Yeah, yeah, and I got loads from it. I think seeing when you did the kind of 30 minutes a day kind of, I found out that was a thing. I was like, you know what, that is manageable. I can do that, because up until that point I was literally going, I'm going to do this, I need to do my photos, I need to do my social media, I need to do this, and it was just literally trying to do everything. I was running around like a headless chicken trying to do everything all at once and not really achieving anything because I was trying to do too many things all at the same time. But just having it broken down into these little tiny chunks, I'm just like, okay, so my photos aren't being done at the moment, but I'm doing all the other things, and I know that the photos will get done, I think, in the next module, and they'll be done properly rather than being done in a rush. So just having it all laid out like that, it's calm, and I'm not running around like a headless chicken anymore.
That's it. Because there's always something that you can do, right? Yeah. And sometimes you sit down and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do some work on my business. Then you're like, oh my God, like, where do I start? I've got this to-do list as long as my arm. And I'm like, well, okay, but what do I need to do first? What's going to make... And then you start making changes and you're frustrated because it's not making a difference to your revenue. And you're like, what do I need to do to make a difference to this? And I think that's where the HBSA scores. I've got ADHD myself. So it's kind of like, I get how you can want to do everything and then you exhaust yourself and then you're frustrated in amongst all of that. And then you just end up being like, am I doing anything right? And it's like all or nothing, I think, with how my brain works. I don't know about you and anybody else, but and I think like the beauty with it is it's 30 minutes a day, step by step. And I think that's where, you know, and you are going to get the ways where you're like, I want to do more than half an hour. I'm going to do like 2 hours. Yeah. And you're going to get those days where you're like, I can only do 15 minutes. Yeah. Like I just can't today.
Yeah. I mean, with children and I have a job, I only have 2 days in the week where I can work on my business. So then I kind of have to go, okay, so I'm going to do a couple of the little sections in the morning and then actually do some drawing and painting in the afternoon, and then run off to do the school run and all sorts of things. So yeah, it's a bit of a juggle still, but it's a planned out juggle rather than just flailing around.
Yeah, got you. So going back to the HBSA then, what impact would you say that it's had on your business?
So it's just everything, I think. Everything.
Everything.
Just I feel like it's creating a really like solid base for having a successful business. Like my sales at the moment are kind of slow and steady, but I'm working on all the kind of solid foundations so that when I find my people, it will be there ready for them. And I think that's kind of going to be the last puzzle piece as I work through the last little bit, is actually getting those people to see me. Because having done all the mindset module at the start, I was like, actually, you know what? I'm not selling a lot, but when I have spoken to the people that do like my work, they really, really like it. And it is just finding those people. And I think, just having this solid foundation for when these people come will make all the difference. And just kind of taking it, not that I wasn't taking it seriously before, but putting the work in a kind of serious, sensible way rather than just kind of trying everything and nothing really working.
Yeah.
So,
No, agreed. How do you feel about like the compounding little and often sort of mentality? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. It's doing these little steps every single day and building it up. And I mean, my views on Etsy are going up, and once I'm almost finished the branding module now, so I can make everything look really pretty, and now I understand who my target audience are, I can kind of go and find them and bring them in. And because I think before I was a bit like, well, I don't know, maybe people that like fairies and things, but then there's fairies and there's fairies. I mean, I found the target market section really, really hard, because trying to look at competitors and things, I was like, I don't know who they are, because nobody else does anything quite the same, which I guess is good, but it also makes it really difficult.
Do you ever look at your brand and just kind of think, you know what, this looks really DIY, it's not really vibing, and obviously my target audience are not buying because I'm not getting those cha-chings and those sales coming through? Then you need to join our most newest challenge, the Brandathon. So we are kicking things off on the 10th of March for this brand spanking new challenge, which is going to make sure to infuse your brand with all of the good stuff to make your items seen and sold whilst you sleep, and attract your target audience, so you never feel like you're trying to push or market in a very sleazy way again. We want to have your brand to become a magnet to your target audience, so you're making sales on autopilot all the time. If that sounds good to you, I would love for you to join the Brandathon challenge. Go to handmadebosses.com/brandathon, or the link will be in the show notes. And I cannot wait to get your brand selling on autopilot.
But when I've done kind of in-person events, the people I've met there, I'm like, you are my people. So just trying to kind of get who they are, and understanding that has made a huge difference. And I've completely changed all my branding and things, or I will have, maybe by the time this goes out. I'm working on it.
I saw that in the group. I was like,
Yeah.
I like low key, I think branding is probably one of my favorite things to do, because it's you see it come to life. Whereas I think that sometimes a target audience is very important, don't get me wrong, but it's almost like there's nothing visual.
Yeah. So I went through the target audience bit, and then I started on the branding, and then I went back to the target audience, because I found finding my target audience visually easier than just kind of trying to think of the people. So once I'd got the visuals, I was like, oh, it's these people that go with these visuals. And I think that, kind of flip-flopping between the two really helped. Yeah,
got you. And with like your business, like I'd say a year or so ago versus now, how different is it?
It's moving now. It was quite stagnant, I think, a year ago, because I was trying to do everything, but nothing's actually getting done. Whereas now I'm doing things, I'm making positive changes, I'm feeling better about it, understanding that actually it's not that nobody likes my stuff, it's just that I'm not showing it to the right people. And now that the right people are starting to see it, it's getting really nice kind of positive feedback. And I think that's made all the difference, making me feel like actually I am doing the right thing. It's not just that nobody likes it, it's just that not everybody likes it.
So do you think that like a lot of handmade business owners struggle with like the confidence side of things, do you think?
100%. Yeah. Anyone that does anything creative, I think that's an issue, because unless you've got someone constantly going, you're amazing, you're great, and which obviously family do, but it's not the same, is it? But when you have kind of complete strangers like commenting on like Instagram posts, or if I get someone that I have no idea who they are buying something off Etsy, I'm just like, oh my god, an actual person like that is not connected to me in any way, they like my stuff enough to give me money for it. And but until you get that, you're kind of just on your own. And I think a lot of handmade people work literally on their own, and you don't really get feedback of whether you're doing the right thing or not, which is obviously hard. And then if you're putting your heart and soul into it, that you're literally putting everything on the line, and that's scary. So, confidence is definitely an issue.
Yeah, agreed. And I think sometimes whatever stage you're at, I think something along the line always happens to knock your confidence, whether it's an offhanded comment from someone at a craft fair, or something your family and friends have said, like the head tilt and the, oh, how's your little business going? Like, or it's a negative review on Etsy
Yeah.
or Amazon or whatever. And I think, yeah, something along the way will always knock you. And I think
Yeah.
it's that point where you start to kind of build that resilience and kind of go, no, I'm putting my flag in the ground and I'm saying, no, this is what I do. If you don't like it, you're not my target audience.
Yeah. And I think that's something I've really learned like over the past few months, is just, if they're not your people, they're never going to like it. But if they are your people, they're going to love it. And that's why it's so important to find out who your people are.
Yeah. I was reading a book actually, and it talked a little bit about like people pleasing and like how we're hardwired to want everyone to like us. And in it sort of said that like there are people out there that just don't like you. And it could be through no fault of your own. It could be because you remind them of someone who's done them wrong. It can be because you said this thing. It can be like there are people out there who have already decided that they don't like you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And just getting comfortable with that life truth and just being like, you know what, it's fine.
Yeah. But it's hard. It's hard.
It is.
But
it is.
Yeah, I think it's important. Otherwise, you'll just drive yourself insane.
Yeah. I myself have been getting like a swathe of like people commenting on Facebook posts and stuff. And we all know like these days, Facebook is just a spam. But it's like it doesn't get any easier, I think, because the comments just get different. And they like jab you. Yeah, they jab you at different points and you end up feeling like, okay. But I think it's just the more time goes on, the more you're able to kind of go, no, war off the duck's back. I'm not going to engage. It's their opinion, which they're entitled to. I just don't want to hear it. Yeah. So where do you see your business in 1 year's time?
So hopefully fully rebranded, all sorted, and getting lots of sales, ideally. So I'm not expecting like millions of sales, but I'd like to get consistent sales, and just kind of have that sort of almost ticking over, having these sales, but also having more time to actually make more products and do the artwork, because that's why I'm doing it, is because I love making the artwork. Because I feel like at the moment I'm brushing around doing all this branding and things like that, which I'm really enjoying doing, but I'm not actually making the products that I'm trying to sell. So yeah, working not on the business, in the business. Is that the right way around? Is that what you say? I can't remember which way around.
Yeah.
Making the things, not so much doing big businessy type changes, just working on products. And I'd probably not next year, but at some point in the future, to do a little book about all the creatures, because that would be really fun. But I think that's going to be quite a long way down the line, but we'll see. We never know.
That's so cool, because it would, I can just see that, because it would be like an explanation about the characters and what they get up to, and it will just deepen that story element, I think. Because I love coming up with the little stories behind it, and sometimes the stories come first and then what they look like come afterwards. Sometimes what they look like come first and then I'm like, oh, and this is where they came from, and all of that kind of thing. I love that. What crazy but true fact is there about you?
So I really struggled to think of something for this, so it's going to be my go-to fact that I always have. So I have done 2 marathons on roller skates.
Okay, you're going to have to explain. You can't drop that into conversation and then be like, bye. So I play roller derby, which is, I don't know if you know it, it's a sport played on roller skates. And there was a big event. It was called the South Coast Roll. It's moved to somewhere else now, but it goes around Goodwood Racetrack, and they just invite anyone that skates. I think they had scooters, skateboards, anything, and you can just go around Goodwood Racetrack as many times as you want. So me and some of my teammates did it, and one of the challenges, I think you have to go around 11 times or something, and that is a marathon. I did it a couple of years in a row,
And yeah, it was really good fun. I got very sunburnt, but it was fun. It was hard work. I was very achy the next day, both times.
I bet it requires a lot of strength and a lot of fitness to be able to do that, right?
Well, yeah, we did have a lot of breaks,
Mm.
and I wouldn't have done it running or walking, but we do go faster when you're on wheels, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. Took it slow. It wasn't a race. There are some people that race it, which is just mad.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, that is fab. That is really, really fun. We're actually getting to Goodwood in the Festival of Speed in June, I think. And it's the first time I've ever been, so I'm quite like, ooh, excited to go.
Yeah, I've never been there properly, only to roller skate.
No, well, I mean, one could argue that's probably the best way to do it, right?
Well, I enjoyed it.
I love it. Last question. What is your one piece of advice that you would give to yourself a year ago?
So I think it's got to be about finding my people, finding my target audience, and to keep doing what I love doing, because there are people out there that will appreciate it and love it. And just because it's not for everybody, it doesn't mean it's not for some people. And I think that is, I mean, I wish someone had told me that not just a year ago, like a really long time ago. I would have really appreciated that bit of advice. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is just to kind of believe in myself and what I'm doing.
Yeah, got you. Okay, Laura, I want you to tell people where they can find you on social media, your shop, like plug away.
Okay, so I'm on Instagram, the Daydream Emporium, which honestly took me so long to come up with that name. And on Etsy, my Daydream Emporium, because unfortunately the Daydream Emporium was taken. I am on Facebook and TikTok as well, but I don't really use them. So Instagram is the place to find me.
I love it. So that's my Daydream Emporium on Etsy.
And the Daydream Emporium on Instagram.
Brilliant. Love it. Well, thank you so much for doing this. And I think it's been really cool to hear about your journey. I can't wait to see your book. I need that posted in the group when it happens, because I'm like,
yeah. Give it a few years, and maybe when both children are at school, I'll have a bit more time.
yeah, for sure. So thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, we'll put the links in the show notes. If you want to go and have a little nosy and kind of see what Laura's up to, then you definitely can. And yeah, thank you so much for doing this. It's just really cool to hear about, like, to actually talk to people Ray.
It's been really nice. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. Well, thank you everyone for listening / watching, depending on where you're consuming this. And we will see you soon. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to How to Be a Handmade Boss. And if you're eager to boost your Etsy sales within just 7 days, then be sure to join my most popular free training at handmadebosses.com/conversion. You can also find the link in the show notes as well. Keep an eye out for our next episode, where we'll be continuing our journey towards handmade business success together. And until then, keep crafting and stay inspired, because the world really does need those special creations that only you can make.